You set down two water glasses, one stays full. You stop calling this bad luck. So what are you really waiting for? Some friendships do not break. They just keep arriving with one person missing. After a while, the missing person is not them. It is the part of you that still expects balance. You remember who likes which tea. You suggest the day. You follow up a week later. You keep smoothing the silence so nobody has to name it. It is not distance. It is unequal care. That is the quiet shift. Smart people often notice it late because they can explain almost anything except the feeling of being slowly deprioritized. They keep giving the friendship one more generous interpretation. At first, it still looks temporary. The rain check slip curls under the lamp. A spare ticket stays in the coat pocket. A name rises in your mind when something funny happens. You tell yourself the season is busy. You tell yourself everyone gets scattered. But here's the strange part. Warm words can cover a cold pattern for a long time. You stand at a museum counter with two paper wristbands in your hand. The clerk waits. You slide one band back across the wood. Nobody canceled badly. Nobody said anything cruel. You just knew you were doing the lifting again. The plan existed because you pushed it into existence. Smart people rarely leave at the moment of drama. They leave at the moment of recognition. That moment is usually very small and very plain. That recognition comes from accumulation. The botanical garden map stays folded in your tote. Not one missed plan, not one distracted reply. The repeats keep landing on the same side. You are always the one restarting the stalled wheel. Does care ever have to travel toward you? That becomes the real question. The answer is often visible long before anyone says it aloud. At the trailhead parking lot, you are the one passing out route cards and bottled water. Everyone smiles. Everyone is glad you organized it. The backpacks hit the gravel. The morning feels full. Then the walk ends, and so does the pull between meetings. Nobody is unkind. Nobody follows through either. The harder part comes later. You realize they liked the event, but they did not really move toward you. They moved toward what you assembled for them. That difference matters. Being appreciated is not the same as being held in mind. One feels warm for an hour. The other keeps moving after the hour is over. Smart people eventually learn that confusion has a cost. There is a simple name for this: a maintenance friendship. It only moves when you move it. The checkout slip rests flat beside the return bin. Plans happen because you remember. Contact happens because you restart it. Repair happens because you lower the friction. Its motion depends on one person doing all the caring. Once you see that, a lot of old disappointment suddenly lines up. Smart people are not always better at love. They are often just harder to fool once the pattern repeats. At the fruit stand, one person is picking peaches while the other is already drifting away. Who is doing the remembering? Who keeps making the social weather easier? Who notices birthdays, moods, and unspoken tensions before anyone else does? That hidden labor starts to become visible. Think about the birthday table with 6 folded place cards. One candle bends. One chair stays unused long enough for you to stop checking the door. You turn the spare card face down. And this is where it changes. The pain is no longer about tonight. It is about seeing how often your hope has been doing the social work alone. You begin to understand that waiting can become a personality if you are not careful. That is why the break can look quiet from outside. Nothing dramatic happened. The wax line just kept leaning in the same direction. The math finally became visible. Other people call it fading. Your body calls it relief mixed with shame. Sometimes the friendship survives through borrowed intensity. On the balcony rail, the night air feels close enough to mistake for closeness itself. A long talk can feel like repair. A sudden weekend can feel like return. One soft apology can buy another month of effort. Then ordinary life comes back, and the line goes thin again. Smart people slowly learn to trust the structure more than the occasional spark. Later, you are back at the same corner table. Condensation runs down the untouched glass. Your thumb turns the paper coaster once, then stops. Nobody is late yet, but your body already knows what the room is about to ask from you. Not patience, carry. You are grieving the effort before you officially stop making it. That grief is often the real goodbye, not the final silence. But that's not the real reason. Smart people do not let go because they expect perfect reciprocity. They let go when the friendship starts depending on self-betrayal. In the studio hallway mirror, you practice a softer version of your real mood. You trim your honesty down to something easier to receive. When honesty has to be edited, closeness is already getting expensive. That cost adds up quietly. Once that starts, even warmth has a price. The claim ticket stays in your palm a second too long. You are still included. You are just less intact. That is the part few people can see from the outside. Picture the board game box on your living room shelf. You bought the snacks, cleared the table, sent the reminder, delayed your own weekend to make the room easy to enter. Then 3 people say maybe, and nobody replaces the uncertainty they created. The room stays suspended around their indecision. You put the box back exactly where it was. A maintenance friendship always leaves one person cleaning up twice. First the plan, then the feeling. Intelligent people also think in trajectories. A stack of unused stamps sits beside the envelope tray. If nothing changed, what would this feel like in 6 more months? That question is not cynical, it is clarifying. It stops a temporary ache from becoming a long habit. It also stops hope from disguising repetition as potential. At the train platform, you watch 2 friends lean toward each other without effort. No performance, no careful timing, just easy return. For a second it stings, then it clarifies something. What would friendship feel like without all that force? It would still need care. It would not need constant propulsion. The connection would not go dead every time you stop pushing it uphill. That is the hidden damage of a maintenance friendship. The guest slippers stay new by the closet wall. It trains you to confuse endurance with connection. It teaches you to admire your own effort instead of reading the absence in front of you. Then one day the group chat goes quiet and you do something small instead. In the plant nursery aisle, the watering can leaves a dark line on the concrete. You take your time. You do not draft the next invitation in your head. You do not rescue the lull. The air feels strangely clean, not happy, not tragic, just unoccupied. Sometimes peace shows up first as unused effort. That can feel empty before it feels honest. Letting go here is not punishment. It is not a test. The folded picnic blanket goes back to the top shelf. You simply stop volunteering your energy to prove the friendship still exists. You stop auditioning your devotion. The friendship may return. It may not. But you stop feeding the version that survives only on your labor. What makes this especially hard for thoughtful people is that they can see the other person kindly. On the gravel path, the late light lays long bars across the ground. They can imagine the reasons. They can forgive before anyone asks. They can explain the whole story from the other side. And this is where it changes. Understanding someone is not the same as carrying them forever. That may be the most adult grief inside friendship. It is not distance. It is unequal care. The spare house key sits flat in the ceramic dish. Once you see that clearly, silence stops looking empty. It starts looking informative. The quiet begins to answer a question words kept delaying. So the friendship does not always end with a fight. Sometimes it ends with a smaller movement. You stop reserving the extra seat. You stop rehearsing the next rescue. You leave the door of effort where it is. Letting go is not low feeling. It is care with no return.